Okay, in Module 8, we're going to look at the influence on occupational goals, including things like personality and gender. And so let's go ahead and look at the personality. So John Holland, back in the 90s, has a theory of personality categories and things that people need to consider the categories of their personality with the type of job that they're going to have. So if this really intrigues you, we have a whole field of psychology called industrial occupational psychology, or IO psychology. And that really focuses on trying to get the right people into the right type of jobs. And so these are the different types of personality categories and then the type of jobs that are going to be related to it. So let's go ahead and look those and kind of talk those through. In the realistic personality type, these are people who have high physical strength, very practical approach to problem solving, and low social understanding. So the physical activities and practical applications of knowledge, as you might see with things like construction and farming, not anybody's going to argue a difficult thing if you've ever tried to build anything or to farm anything successfully. There's a lot of skills there, very practical related in far problem solving, but of course also very physical. Intellectual personality type likes high on conceptual and kind of theoretical thinking. They prefer to think things through rather than applying knowledge. So you're going to see that occur in things like math and science, which is certainly very theoretical. The social category, people are high in their verbal skills and social skills, involves working with people like teachers, social workers, where there's a lot of interactions with others. Conventional type is high on following directions carefully and dislike of unstructured activities. So they like clear responsibilities, but they don't do a lot of leadership kind of roles. So secretaries, bank tellers, very structured, definitely know what they're supposed to be doing, and then follow those directions very closely. Okay. The enterprising type, they are high in verbal abilities, social skills, and leadership skills. And you might see them in occupations like sales, running a business, or maybe even going into politics. Okay. And then finally is the artistic type. They are introspective, imaginative, sensitive, unconventional, and they may have occupations like painting, authorship, being artists, stuff like that. So most people, according to this theory, are going to be happiest and most successful if their careers are able to find a match between their personality qualities and the occupations that allow them to express and develop those qualities. And of course, everybody has different personality. If you look at the big five and the dimensions there, so there are good fits of certain jobs with certain people. And because those people are really good in a certain job that they have a good fit with, doesn't mean they're going to be good in all jobs. So that's a very important one to kind of think about. Now, anytime you take these kind of career vocational surveys, a lot of them are based on these kind of Holland's theory. Another one that you may have heard of is the Strong-Campbell vocational interest inventory. And it's based on a lot of these same ideas as far as personality types with types of professions. And of course, you've probably taken these depending on how seriously you answered the questions. Is probably more or less how accurate you felt that they were in the recommended professions for your careers. But that's really the intent behind those. As far as gender and occupational goals, unfortunately, women for the longest time, since they've really begun entering the fields of work in regards to like professional type work, tended to have what they call kind of the women jobs, which tend to concentrate in service sectors like teachers, nurses, secretaries, childcare workers. And if you look at the numbers in those areas, you will see a preponderance of women. Because they were, from the very beginning, assumed to be kind of women jobs, those tended to be lower paying and of lower status. Even within higher status professions, what we see is that women tend to have lower status and lower paying positions in that high status profession. So, for example, doctors who are women tend to do more family practice, pediatrics, which are lower paid specialties compared to things like surgeons, who tend to be much higher paid specialties and once again tend to be more male dominated. One of the issues behind this, in addition to kind of a very historical view of women not needing to be paid as much because they would be a secondary provider, which is, been vanquished many decades ago, but you still have echoes of that in kind of what framed the kind of salary amounts when those professions were really starting to come together, and it has never really moved a whole lot. This is opposed to min jobs, and min jobs, what you see is that they tend to have like engineer, chemist, surgeon, computer software designers, and those tend to be much higher paying, high status jobs, and once again are typically dominated by men. So, in emerging adulthood, one of the problems young women often have is they anticipate there's going to be some difficulties that they're going to face in balancing the work and family roles, and that this is going to influence the type of jobs they select because of what they call the second shift influence. And second shift influence means you work a full shift in working your full day, and then you have to come home and perform a lot of other different jobs at home to help the family function. And that takeaway at home is time that maybe men typically don't have to spend, and so they're able to devote it more towards their career, and they're able to get along further than the women would. And so this is an ongoing issue when we talk about the job payment discrepancy. They often bandy about the numbers of, for every dollar a man earns, the women earn a certain amount, which is usually significantly less. And this is some of the factors that go into that. Okay, in Module 9, coming up here, we're going to go ahead and look at emerging adult work and the issue of unemployment. So stay tuned for Module 9.